Dirtnation now has a Jeep. Let's f***ing go! New vehicle alert. You see that? This is Ventures. This is our 1988 Jeep Wrangler YJ. My girlfriend randomly texted me like a few months ago, like, hey babe, I picked up a new Jeep. It's getting dropped off at your house. Fair warning. And then this thing showed up at my house. So today, in this video, we're gonna get started with building this thing. First thoughts.
It's actually pretty fucking clean, dude.
I don't know about that. You can't beat America doors, dude. And also, Christy's YJ has, or her JK has America doors, so.
That is perfect. Holy fuck, dude. Do you have a, why do you have a door sensor as an alarm in there?
I don't know, dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
So let me start by saying we originally picked up this Jeep to take part in a challenge out in Johnson Valley where you buy and build a rig for $2,500 and go race it out in JV. Now, spoiler alert, we didn't make it to this challenge, but regardless, we're gonna do the best we can with it. Now, first things first, we gotta get this into the shop and see what we're working with. And I'll say, this thing is rough around the edges, and I'll be honest, my expectations were pretty low going into this. This is an original 4-cylinder Jeep with a 4.0 swapped in. From the looks of it, it's about 75% finish. They cut and re-welded the motor mounts, transmission is mounted, radiator's hooked up. The only thing is the wiring. It is a rat's nest of a mess, so I'll have my work cut out for me trying to get this sorted out. Also, there's no wiring to the lights, no seats, no interior, no air filter. The fuel pump wiring is cut for some reason. The axles are stock but missing pieces like the axle disconnect for the front, no rear drive shaft, no T-case linkage, no exhaust. All good. We're gonna eventually get all this squared away. For now, we're gonna start tinkering with the wiring just to see if we can get a little bit of life into this Jeep. So I go ahead and do a little bit of research on this style of ECU, and then I start poking around with the power probe and find that the biggest issue is that ignition is not getting power to the ECU, which brings us to this. Should that be enough? Go. Go. We're gonna get this fucker running today, dude. Oh, let's go! Woo! Go.
Oh, I fucking hit it again?
Great starting point. Motor turns over and we have spark. The next one is going to be fuel. So because the wiring is cut, I'm going to have to make my own and I'll just rig it to a switch. But first, we're going to use a power probe just to make sure that the fuel pump works and the engine will run on its own.
So if I get sprayed with fuel, punch it with a dick.
All right, so we got the motor running. Now it's time to figure out, is it gonna overheat? Is it gonna cool down? Is it gonna be all good? And then a lot of other things, but let's fire it up. We're gonna burp it. So I'll note right here that I'm only putting water for now, but that's not gonna work on an iron block like this. You gotta put some antifreeze. But once we know that the cooling system is gonna cycle and it's gonna work, we'll go ahead and drain it and put some real antifreeze in there. Next, we did have to fix a leak that was on the fuel rail, so quick fix and a new regulator, and we are good to go there. Now, I'm also going to be taking off a bunch of stuff that I know I'm not going to need, like, for example, the sway bar, there's old exhaust pieces, there's some random breather lines and some other wiring, a bunch of stuff that is just in the way right now, and we are going to get rid of it, and we'll use what we have to afterwards. I'll also be making a line for the clutch because this is not the stock transmission in the vehicle. This is a BA10 transmission that comes in a 4.2 carbureted engine for these Jeeps. It's not the best transmission. It's gonna work for now. Either way, we're gonna jimmy rig up a line, get the clutch to work so we can go for our first test drive.
All right, go take a look at the pedal.
What the fuck?
Dude, hey, tell me it doesn't work though.
I guess.
Does it work? What was your bright idea?
The complete opposite of that.
So don't wrap it around there twice.
I was like, remember you told me it wouldn't run? Next one is going to be seats. Now we had an extra parts vehicle sitting around. It was a Jeep Cherokee XJ. So I went ahead and pulled the seats out of there. Mounting points did not match up perfectly, so I just drilled them out and we're going to make it work as it is. But either way, we got seats now. So we're now getting to a point where I know I have a workable project. We're getting a lot of things crossed off the list. One of the big ones for this build was gonna be axles. Now the stock axles that come in a YJ is a Dana 30, Dana 35 combo, and these axles are known for being very, very weak. So we had a set of axles sitting at the shop from a build that we're going to the scrap pile. These are gonna be out of a 2018 JK Wrangler Sport. It's a Dana 44 rear with a Dana 35 front. They're open diffed, re-geared to 513, and the rear end does need a rebuild because the wheel bearing took a shit and the spider gears failed as a result. So junk to the everyday person, but they are going to be perfect for our purpose. Eventually we're going to put 1-ton axles on this Jeep, but for now this will work perfect as they are much stronger than stock, and it is very typical to see JK Wranglers out there running 35s or 37s on these axles, with it being a much heavier vehicle. Since these axles are coil sprung, I'm going to need to cut off the old mounts and weld on some perches because we're going to be keeping this Jeep true to form with a leaf spring setup.
Oops. And that's a wrap on Dana 30.
With the axles prepped, I'll go ahead and take some quick measurements on the old axles to know where we have to mount our perches. From there, I'm going to use my carnage welder to tack these into place so I can check my pinion angle and make sure that that is correct. Now you'll notice when this Jeep is finished that the pinion angle is going to be sitting a little high. It is intentional because this Jeep has some tall lift springs on it and the distance between the transfer case and the rear diff is short. So I need to help out that drive shaft as much as I can. Gonna do the same for the front and we'll get these axles fully mounted. So my girlfriend came in later and actually helped out with welding the rest of this stuff up. She also got some shock tabs made for the rear, got those welded on the axle. So after all that, we are ready to get this thing sitting on its own weight again with some new axles.
There we go. That is with some JK 44 and a 30 mounted up. Let's fucking go.
You excited?
Heck yeah.
Good. Next is just a lot of details to kind of get everything to work together. And some of that stuff I end up having to do multiple times because right now I'm at a point where I'm still thinking I could make the challenge, and I took some liberties on this build to stay within the budget. Now first is steering. Tie rod actually for the JK axle works perfectly. No modifications needed. The drag link, I'm gonna have to drill out the knuckle and the pitman arm, and then we're gonna do a flip kit where you install like a little tapered sleeve so you can run the ball joint on the top of the knuckle. Drag link in this setup also ends up being way too long, and we're gonna have to shorten it. Now to shorten that drag link, we're gonna be cutting 2 inches out of the tubing, and then from there, I'm gonna take a 10-inch piece of chromoly steel tubing, and I'm gonna use that to sleeve the inside so that when we weld those two pieces back together, you have a nice strong brace in there so you can make sure that steering is gonna hold tight. Now normally you would probably drill out some holes, and then that would allow you to like weld that inner tube to the outside tube, just keeping it all held together. I just made sure to do a nice taper or a nice bevel around both ends so that we're able to weld it all together nice and tight. All right, check it out. Here's our drag link. So braces inside, so this is sleeved all the way from right here to right here, and then we left a little bit of a gap and welded the living crap out of it. So this, we had some good notches cut in, so I think this was a total of 3 passes. That shouldn't go anywhere, but we'll find out. Okay, right about there, and I think that's gonna be good. Cool. Then for our drive shafts, this is where things get a little Mickey Moused and a little sketchy. So stay with me here. We do fix it in the end, but I was looking to stay within our $2,500 budget for the challenge. So I ended up chopping up the stock drive shaft for the YJ, and I used another old JK drive shaft that was in our scrap pile to make a front shaft. Then for the rear, we used an old TJ shaft that was also in the scrap pile, and I extended that with a little piece of 2-inch tubing just to make it work as it is. Now these would obviously be for trail use only, as they are gonna vibrate like a motherfucker at any speed over 20 miles per hour. But for now, we have working drive shafts, and with all that, we're ready for another test drive. All right, let's talk for a second. Originally with this Jeep, we were supposed to do this challenge, right? 2,500 bucks, get it out there, just go run a trail, have fun, do whatever, you know? We missed the challenge. I had a build plan, didn't work out. We might have already talked about that. Now we're getting to a point where I had the Jeep ready to go. I could have taken it out and wheeled it, but I didn't feel comfortable in terms of safety or just how long it would last, because I had some really shitty parts on it. I had some really janky setups that might have worked for 1 or 2 trails, but now I'm starting to look a little into the future and putting a little bit better parts on this thing. So as you can see, we have the engine right here. We already pulled the transmission out. So we're gonna do a transmission swap on this thing. We're gonna be putting an AX15, which is the strong transmission that you'll find for the 4.0s. So we're gonna be putting one of those in there. We're also doing a little rebuild on the transfer case. I have to change out the front input shaft. I have to change out the slip yoke so we can do a slip yoke eliminator kit. We've already been working on that. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things going on. But the key is, we're starting to do a little bit better things with this Jeep rather than just like a bullshit build. So we already got our axles, right? I'm really digging these. We're gonna use these as long as we can, have some fun with them. The rear's a Dana 44. We're gonna weld up the gears and lock it. But for now, I've already put my flywheel on, and I'm just gonna be working on putting all the clutch on and everything. We gotta get the transmission in. We're still waiting for parts for the transfer case. So there's a lot going on, but the point is, we're gonna be building a cool Jeep and we're gonna have some fun with it. So looking forward to it. Well, let's continue. So along with our transmission, we got some other goodies from the junkyard. We got a new exhaust pipe, new tailgate, and a new master slave cylinder. Well, not new, but definitely new to us. Then from the parts store, we did get some brand new parts. We got a flywheel, we got a clutch, and we got a new throwout bearing. So in all, I spent about 600 bucks for all of this stuff, which is a solid price considering the huge upgrade that I'm gonna be making to the transmission just to solidify this Jeep just a little bit more. Up next, in order to get a proper drive shaft in the rear, I'm going to be installing a rough country slip yoke eliminator kit. This allows you to have a longer drive shaft with less of an angle because you can now use a double cardan end on the end of your drive shaft. It's kind of hard to explain. You go from like having a slip yoke where it kind of slips into the transfer case and spins, as opposed to having a flange that you bolt your U-joint with straps or whatever to the end of it. Look up an SYE kit, slip yoke eliminator, very big upgrade for Jeeps, and it's almost a necessary thing for Jeeps once you start lifting them. So to install this SYE kit, you are going to have to take apart the entire transfer case, which is kind of a big job. It's not hard. You really just got to follow the steps and then reverse order in order to put it back together. It's tough, but it's also not tough. It's not, you know, there's a lot of videos out there, luckily. So that's kind of what I did. I just watched a couple videos, did it myself. Now with this transfer case, it's honestly probably going to need a rebuild in the future because it is having a hard time shifting out of 4-low. So because this is going to be a trail rig, this is something that I'm towing to trails and I'm not going to be driving on the street right now. Just to stay within a budget, I am going to keep it as it is, and then we'll probably rebuild this transfer case later. If it's stuck in 4-low, that's fine with me. We're going to use it as it is, and I'd rather spend my money on the rock crawler projects that we have in-house here. So for now, we're just going to run this case and see how it goes. In addition, I was able to get a better front drive shaft. It was a takeoff from a vehicle. It was one that had like blown out U-joints, so I just kind of installed some new U-joints, got that back together, and we now have front and rear drive shafts that aren't going to be like too crazy. Much better stuff, much better parts for this Jeep.
All right, just real quick, I threw the exhaust on the bottom. I didn't bolt it up, so it's not going to be perfect, but I want to see if this thing is like improving in sound. So we're going to fire it up real quick. All right, I'm gonna pick up gas for this thing. Good shit.
Next is going to be wheels and tires. Luckily I had an old set of 40s lying around and we picked up another set of Pro Comp wheels. So let's get these mounted.
Okay, just take a look, take a look, take a look. Ooh. Ooh. I actually really like it. It's probably gonna rub like a motherfucker, but the 40s are mounted. Now, take note. These are the old Nitos off of Winchers. So we got parts from Winchers, parts from Bender. This thing, oh, I'm loving it. I am loving this thing so far. We still gotta connect the shocks. and then we'll go take it on the flex ramp, go drive it around, see how it moves with 40s. I mean, it's stuck in 4 low anyway, so it's gonna move, but fuck yeah. Look at this thing! Oh my god, I fucking love it. Oh, look at you.
Now, luckily this thing does not flex very good. Leaf springs they suck at flexing, and YJs that's just how it is. Normally with these YJs, you're supposed to keep the stock springs. This does not have stock springs. It has like XJ springs in the front, and then the rear is some like rough country lift crap. It's like 4-inch springs. They don't flex worth a damn. For our purposes, that's actually okay because it helps clear these 40s. So for now, we're gonna run it as it is. The fact that it doesn't flex means this thing rubs a lot less than it normally would. And then last thing we'll be doing for now is the rear axle. So as I mentioned before, we do have chip spider gears. Luckily, we don't care about those spider gears because we're gonna be welding up this rear end. We're going to be doing a Lincoln locker. So a Lincoln locker is when you weld your spider gears all together, making it so that it all has to spin at the same time. So that gives you a fully locked axle. The only thing it costs you is a little bit of work and some welding wire. Good stuff. Let's continue.
All right, let's talk about this YJ. We're getting close to wrapping up the video. It is time to finally take this thing home and get started with running some trails. Now, honestly, you're not going to see this much on trail videos. Where are you going to see this YJ? Well, you're going to see it in Azusa videos for sure. I think this is going to be our dedicated Azusa rig, where me and Christy, my girlfriend, go and just take this thing out, romp on it. Because honestly, we got this thing so cheap, and we got this thing built in such a way to where we're not going to be taking it out on trails. We're not going to be taking it on the highway. We're not going to be driving it anywhere. Like, this thing is not built for that. Can it be eventually? Maybe. For now, this thing is like an OHV Park freaking street queen right here. So we're gonna take this thing out, we're gonna go wheel it, we're gonna go have some fun with it, and that's what it's gonna be. Now, today we are actually finishing up the build. Now, although, like I said, this thing is not finished, there is a lot of work to do. There's a lot to happen with this thing, but for now, we have a running, driving, stopping machine, and that is good enough for me. This YJ has come a long way, considering when I rolled it in these doors right here, there was no hope. I'm gonna be honest, when I started this video, that's why I didn't really do a proper intro, because I really wasn't sure if this thing was gonna run. I didn't know if it was gonna drive. The axles, the transmission, everything was junk on it. The wiring mess, the rat's nest, like, I honestly, no hope. The guys that helped me worked on it, no hope. But hey, I figured I'd try, and little by little we made progress, and here we are with a running, driving YJ. Now, I gotta give a big shout out to the fellas at Jeep Doctor. It was because of them, as well as other people within the Dirt Nation group. I gotta give some shout outs to Mel, Themel, those guys, you know, and just anybody that's offering knowledge on getting this thing started. But big shout out to the shop, big shout out to Jeep Doctor for letting me work on this thing and tinker on it for the past couple months. Now we have an Azusa rig and we have a cool Jeep to go out there and beat on. So I'm actually really excited to have this thing. We're gonna get it loaded up on the trailer, and before I wrap up this video, I do wanna do a little bit of wheeling. So probably on the way home today, we're gonna go stop somewhere and just get this thing on some dirt, drive it around, just go see how it does. Like I said, this is not gonna be a hardcore rock crawler, although it's on 40s and I do have a welded rear end. It is not gonna be a typical rock crawling beast. This thing doesn't flex, and I don't know how much it's gonna overheat. I don't know how long it can run for. I really don't know, right? There's a lot of questions up in the air. So this thing, it's just gonna be a putt-putt, go have fun in Azusa, thrash on it, do those types of things, and we'll see how the build continues. But very fun stuff. I'm gonna stop rambling. We're gonna get this loaded up and let's get wheeling.
A few inches later.
All right. Well, welcome to the maiden voyage. We're here. Saul, talk to me.
At least it was strapped down right on the way up. I mean, that's a good way to start.
Hey, you know, like speed bumps usually have like some kind of marker, you know, they usually got some white on there, some yellow to let you know. Sometimes they don't, and you hit them at about 30 miles an hour and you yeehaw the trailer and the truck. But the Jeep stays, so that was good. At least I did strap it down good. But fucking A, man. Here we are. We're out in Corona Hills right now. I'm just going to go take the Jeep out and just, hey, let's go do some stuff over here and just see, is it going to work? Is it gonna drive? And that's about it. I am driving this thing right now. Can't believe it. But we're here. That's what matters. We are here. It's a mess out here. Hey, look, Jeep things. Woo. No shit. I fucking love this thing. Well, I said I was going to make it into an Azusa truck, and, well, at least we tested it out with mudding. I'm in my work outfit.
It works.
Well, we found our first issue. I'll show you guys when we get back to camp, or back to the truck, but we got to take it back now because it's going to fucking overheat. It's leaking coolant. And it's also slinging mud everywhere. So, yay. Oh shit, got it on the camera. Calm down, Dustin. All right, let's show you what happened. First of all, this and this. I like it. I like it. We're muddy. We're already fucking doing it right. So look. So when they swapped this was a 4-cylinder. They went to a 6-cylinder. So they had to cut and re-weld the mounts. They cut and re-welded them probably just a little bit too far forward because you can see the fan when the engine flexes under torque. It went and hit that radiator. I had a feeling it would do it. That's why I wanted to bring it out and test it and see what was going to happen. And now we got some things to fix. So we'll have to move the core support forward or do something, get a smaller radiator. Fucking who knows? We'll have to see. Good stuff. Well, all right. I think that's going to wrap up our YJ build. Is it good? It's done. It's here. So we're going to have to make some adjustments to it. Not surprised at all. That's just how it goes when you do a build. But regardless, I had fun with it for the 15 minutes that I got to play with it. And now back to the drawing board. We'll fix a radiator, and then this thing should be ready for some Azusa action or whatever else we might find. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Holy crap, it was a good couple months fucking building this thing, getting it ready to go. Dirtnation now has a Jeep. Throw all your hate comments down below, or if you're a Jeeper, throw your support comments down below. Or if you're a Jeeper that drives a JK or better and you don't like YJs, throw your hate comments down below too. But that's going to be it for this video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, channel, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Patreon. You also visit for shirts, hats, hoodies, and all those other goodies. DirtnationOffroad, BigCartel.com. Until next time, thank you guys. Let's get it.